Welcome to episode 328 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I have Chuck Joyner back on the show. So glad to have you. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing great, Dave. A few mic problems there, but we got them all resolved, and we are ready to talk iOS.
There's lots of stuff to talk about, that's for sure. Also here, Ben Roethig. How you doing, Ben?
I am doing fantastic.
Excellent. So glad you're here. Also glad here is Jeff Gamet. How you doing, Jeff?
Well, I thought I was doing great, but none of you seem to appreciate my jokes, so I guess I'm okay.
We appreciate you.
I'm doing well.
Glad you're here. And also glad it's here. He is here as well as Marty Jencius. How you doing, Marty?
Good. A rough start of the day, and then he decided to say screw it, and I tinkered with technology all day long, and just waiting for this show, having a good time.
Yeah, we always like to tinker with technology. That's a fun thing to do each day. So we've got plenty to talk about this week. There was a new iPad that came out. We're talking about that for sure, as well as beta. We've got some beta activity, Vision Pro. This In Touch with the Vision Pro, that's a continuing weekly segment. We got that. iOS 18 stuff, as well as a lot of news that came out this week, so we're going to get started with that. But let's go ahead and get started. We start with In Touch with Vision Pro this week. Apple did release the 5th beta for Vision Pro 2.1 to developers for testing. I haven't had time this week to install it, but from what they're saying, there isn't much else that they've been noticing. We keep talking about the multi-view for MLS and MLB games, as well as being to use the ultra-wide screen for the Mac Virtual Display. Anything you've noticed, Marty, as far as Vision Pro for that this week?
You know, it surprises me. Mac Rumors is big on this too. They'll always announce the new beta, and then they'll say, well, we got nothing on it. We don't know anything about it. And then I do some searching, and sure enough, there's stuff out there. So little things with the Vision OS 2.1 Beta 5, there's presentation improvements, fixes issues where presenter controls like navigating slides, accessing drawing tools, and managing live video sources might be inaccessible during presentations. So it fixed up that little glitch. And then some Reality Kit graphics optimization and Store Kit updates to resolve that. Also, Swift Charts compatibility fixed bugs that might prevent projects using Swift Charts from building when targeting Vision OS. So some developer stuff in there, and then a couple of things about presentations, which might be more user-controlled stuff, too.
Therein lies why I have you here to tell us, because you found it and I didn't. So we're good. So it continues on. We'll see how the beta's got to be very close because, with the 18.1 iOS, it's going to be out soon, and we'll talk about that in just a minute here. So second story, there is a new app, Infuse. It's a video player that updates with new design and it's got a Vision Pro app. Infuse is a popular video player available for Apple devices. I have not used this before. It is getting a big update this week with the launch of Infuse 8, which is now featuring a new design as well as a version for Apple Vision Pro. And so one of the highlights of what Infusion 8 has in the addition of a new app, like I said, as far as the Vision Pro, and lets users watch videos and on the device's massive virtual screen. According to developers, support for 3D videos and immersive environments will be added in a future update. I have not tried this either. How about you? Have you tried this at all, Marty?
Yeah, since I knew it was coming up on the show and I saw the notice about it, I went in and realized that I'd already downloaded this app, haven't used it a lot. It is it's the second version, I think, of the app. Infuse 8. Oh, it's the 8th version. But first time it was developed specifically for the Vision Pro. Here's my, it shows lots of beautiful things. It's a subscription app to begin with.
Right.
So it's something you're going to be feeding the monkey every month or a lot one time a year. And it kind of directs you to where your video sources are. Since I don't have a lot of video sources like on Plex or any of those outs at Jelly, I didn't have a lot of places to point it to get video. So I actually put some of my own video that I had shot in there. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's good. The and maybe I haven't gotten into the quirks or the really good stuff in the Pro version, but it seems like a pretty solid video player for that purpose.
All right, I'm definitely gonna have to go check that out to see. I have not downloaded it yet, so I'll definitely want to see where that is. And then finally this week, I found this to be very fascinating. There are surgeons that are wearing the Apple Vision Pro in operating rooms. This article started in Time Magazine, also got linked to Mac Rumors here. Surgeons at the the University of California, San Diego have been testing the Apple Vision Pro for surgeries. It's for minimally invasive surgery, and they've done about 20 of them, and while wearing the Vision Pro headset. The surgeon and director of Center for Future Surgeries at UCSD, Santiago Horgan, he spoke with Time Magazine and provided some commentary. He said it's more transformative than robotic devices that are used to assist in surgeries. While the Vision Pro is expensive for consumers, it's affordable for hospitals compared to the most medical equipment, and it is widely available technology that many hospitals around the country will be able to take advantage of. During laparoscopic surgeries, doctors send a camera through a small incision, and the camera's view is shown on a nearby screen. Doctors have to watch the screen while operating, which is, you've got some multitasking going on there. That's a little scary. The process where the Vision Pro streamlines. It does allow you to look over at the CT scans, monitor vitals, and do all these things for surgeries. I find this very fascinating to see where this is going to go for something like this in surgeries. I'll go right to Marty. Chuck, what do you think? What do you think of this? Is this something you like? You find this interesting?
I find it very interesting. And not being and seriously, no joking here, not being a surgeon, I can only speculate on what it would be like to be able to position wearing an Apple Vision Pro to position, say, the X-ray or the X-ray on one side, maybe the camera, view on another, rearranged so that, what's more important? Is it important for me to be looking at the actual patient's incision, or is it more important for me to be looking at the camera view when I'm in there doing whatever I'm doing?
Right.
So I feel like you were saying, that this involves some multitasking. It sounds like this kind of surgery would anyway.
Yeah.
And this would seem to be just an amazing way to put, this is a terrible analogy, but I'll do it anyway. But the way we all, as with bigger screens, we all tend to put different things up so we can see them right there. They're right in our view. And my thinking, and somebody with an Apple Vision Pro, correct me, but this would be the same kind of thing. I can arrange a lot of information on my screen, and then maybe even, for that matter, change how much of my vision is being taken up by which information source. So I think this just seems like a completely logical, natural thing.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Jeff? What do you think?
Well, my first thought was, why wouldn't surgeons use this? Because have you seen what people look like inside? Holy crap.
Yeah.
But when I got beyond that, my second thought was, is this a new thing? Now, this is really cool what they're doing, but I assumed that there'd been tools like this available already, like before Vision Pro was a thing. But still, this is super cool.
Yeah.
And I think that what's happening here is a clear indication of where surgical techniques are going in the future.
Yep. And how about you, Ben? What do you think of this?
I think this is kind of where the puck might be going on the Apple Vision Pro. To be perfectly honest, in the consumer space, it's not fully flushed out. It may not be for many, many years, but mixed reality in certain professional arenas, including surgery, engineering, is there now. It's saving lives and streamlining things now. So we may not think of Apple as primarily a business company, but this might be primarily right now a business device.
Could be. That's why I left Marty for last. So give your
I disagree with Ben. I think surgery is a consumer item that I think we'll soon be doing surgery on each other with the Vision Pro. Actually, the picture in this article they look kind of dorky. And it scares me to think that these guys would be walking around, or people would be walking around or operating room with a headset on. I get the concept. I fully agree with it. The article has been brought to the attention around they're wearing it to avoid pain. I mean, I've seen some offshoots of this article, and the pain they describe is if I'm doing surgery and I have a bunch of monitors around the room and I'm constantly turning to look around in different directions, I get a lot of neck pain from that.
Yeah.
If I have the headset on, I can look directly at the patient and see my surgery, and also have the monitors within the screen that I'm looking through. So it makes it much more of easier on their kinesthetic process of doing the surgery. Later on in the article, there's some fascinating stuff that I thought was just, and you can see, and I think Ben was alluding to this too, that you can see how this is going to develop out as a medical product, because they've already started a company. The company's looking at how can I take x-rays or CAT scans, which are three-dimensional,
right,
and literally lay the spine onto their spine x-ray on top of the spine that I'm doing the surgery on.
right.
That's where I think it's really groundbreaking in terms of that. Yeah, we've had the monitors, we've had probes and monitors around surgeons doing this for years, but to integrate it into one device, I think is pretty cool.
Really cool. And it got mainstream coverage too. Time Magazine, it's a pretty mainstream media there to be talking about this, because usually Mac Rumors or other Mac or Apple centric sites. So that this definitely's got some interest. So I'd be going to be definitely interesting to see where this goes. But another good way of using the Apple Vision Pro. So that's a Vision Pro for this week. Let's go ahead and move on to beta. They released iOS 18.1 and iPadOS 18.1, and that's the 7th developer beta, and comes just a week after the 6th beta. So we're getting close here. I think Apple's been speculating around October 28th, which is a couple weeks from when we're recording this, that's going to be released. It does include a lot of the Apple Intelligence writing tools and available where text can be selected and edited, and for spell checking, fixing grammar, rewriting with a new tone, and summarizing text. The S Lady has some new designs with a subtle glow. I kind of like. I'm starting to kind of really like that, because it happened, and my wife is not on 18.1 obviously yet because it's beta, and she's like, "Oh, what is that? It looks really cool." And I said, "Yeah, that's the S Lady is saying that wanted you to ask her something." So, as I mentioned last week, I am running the beta on my production phone, which I thought I'm very, very crazy by doing that, but I decided to do that only because I was getting really frustrated with that problem with the touchscreen issues with iPhone 16, which of course they fixed with 18.0.1. So, Ben, what's your been experience so far with the latest beta?
So far, it's been it's pretty polished.
Yeah, it seems it to me.
Yeah. I mean, once again, I will say, do not expect the finished product with Apple Intelligence here.
Mm-hmm.
This is a small step forward, but it's a step. Siri is going to do things like be able to ask multiple questions in a row. You have the writing tools, which honestly aren't as good as something like Grammarly yet, but it's a step, and it's free.
Yep. Chuck or Jeff, you have anything you want to add to this?
I don't run betas, so no.
Great. Apple Intelligence is coming. Here's what I actually care about. Whether or not all the stuff that is fundamentally broken for professional users in iOS 18 right now gets fixed.
Right.
Yeah.
And same thing for macOS tall trees. Yeah. And if that means they end up holding off Apple Intelligence for a few more months while they fix all the stuff that should have been working on day one, I'd be okay with that. I'm not bitter. Why do you ask?
Have you been dabbling anything with your iPad on beta, Jeff?
I have, and in casual use, for the most part, everything is fine. the weird thing I was having where my icons would get like jacked around into the wrong place when I would rotate my home screen from vertical to horizontal. That seems to have gone away with the current beta. So hopefully that doesn't turn into regression and come back.
Yep, I agree. Just briefly mention the Appleseed's fifth betas of watchOS 11.1. We talked about Vision OS. And then tvOS 18.1 was out to developers this week as well. Nothing really to report on those things. And then macOS Sequoia, aka Tall Trees, was introduced as well. No, there are no Apple Intelligence features in watchOS, tvOS, or Vision Pro OS as of yet. That'd be interesting, Marty. You think we're going to see some? I'll go off here just a little bit on the beta for Vision OS. Do you think there's going to be some Apple Intelligence on Vision Pro?
I think so, but I think it's going to take time. They're going to work on it in their larger products before anything else. They're not doing TV commercials for Vision OS telling us about how it's exciting. You can now get Apple Intelligence. It's just the market's just not out there to hold it. They're doing commercials for their iPhone.
Which is crazy.
They'll be doing commercials for the iPad. So that's why that's their primary target right now.
Yeah, and don't even get me started about that. I think I'm a little disappointed with Apple doing. They want to get everybody excited about the iPhone 16 and iOS 18.1, but no one can use it yet, and you're sitting here advertising it. So, one thing I will mention that I did like is the summarization of emails. So you have it right at the top of your email. You can tap summarize, and I love that because there was I tried it. I had a really long-winded email that was in there, and it summarized me in like one or two sentences. So, and it got the
Nice.
point across really nicely and quickly. So it definitely is working. But yeah, there's still things to come here with that. So
I'm getting it on my screen notifications. Like they'll batch up a bunch of notifications and then just phrases in one notification to say the summary of what this is all about.
Yeah, some of it is hilariously wrong.
Yeah,
but the thought is there, and it's a good thing.
Yep, I agree. So,
and isn't that just where technology is right now in so many things, and has been for a while? There's such a push to get things out and capture the imaginations and maybe even the habits of people, that things ship maybe not half baked, but then again, go back and think about the first versions of OS 10 or OS X.
God.
Or when, well, I mean, but that's the way it was. Not everything was completely bulletproof. Oh, there you go, Ben. I'm impressed.
Completely bulletproof. It was more like, here's this metaphorical cheesecloth of an operating system for you.
Yeah, I'm not saying this figuratively, but I had to run macOS 9 and 10 at the same time to have a functioning computer.
Mm-hmm.
So many of us did. Yeah.
But at some point you have to make that jump.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not being an Apple apologist here. I'm really looking at just all the technology that has come across. When technology started to go mainstream, I mean, there was the consumerization, I guess, of technology, and that meant that sometimes the first out of the gate won, and not always, but a lot of times. And so, as a result, companies push stuff out when they shouldn't have, or when it would have been better if they hadn't.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the first steps towards Apple Intelligence.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to take a lesson from Jeff. Actually, Jeff, I'm taking a lesson from you. When you mention people, we go in to buy the new phone because the new phone's out and we want to have the new phone. And we know going in, it's not fully baked. We know that it will develop over months in terms of whatever they promised. But that's not the majority of folks who buy a phone. They buy a phone when their last phone breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And so those commercials aren't for us. Those commercials are for people who might buy a phone a couple of months from now, with the promise of AI ever expanding on that platform.
Yep.
I think the mistake they're making is not tying it to their security, where all other phones have the capability of doing AI, and they're advertising it just as well. But Apple's missing the mark by not talking about the secure cloud system they're using.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like they're using SEO rather than going to the strengths.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're doing it right. And I'm not on Apple's marketing team. I'm not on any marketing team. So, keep that in mind as I toss ideas out. We are not the audience for these commercials, as Marty just pointed out. Does the average iPhone buyer understand the security implications of using AI, and would that message resonate with them in these types of ads? And I'm guessing the answer is no. And it's more important to let the consumer that is thinking about getting a new iPhone that these AI features are there, not so much that, hey, Apple has AI that is more secure than the other guys. Because for the average user, what does that mean?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff. I'm with you. I mean, look. I think everybody's tired of security, which is a shame. But it's also like people got tired of all of us talking about backups, and yet after the hurricanes and all the issues we've seen on the East Coast, people are without their photos, people are without their data, and a lot of it's unrecoverable.
Yep.
And yet, we all scream backups and have for years, and off-site backups.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm afraid that security is starting to get the same thing. It's just you say security and people just stop listening.
All right, let's go ahead and move on here. Shout out to the chat room here at youtube.com/IntouchableIOS. Cletus is there. Brian F is there. We got a number of others in the chat. Really appreciate you being here tonight. And you can join us every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Come check us out live. You can chat with us while we're doing the show. So the new iPad Mini's here. Let's get excited, right? I don't know. I don't know if
I am.
I mean, I'm excited. I think it's great. So Apple did announce this week, it was Tuesday as we record this, a significant upgrade to the iPad Mini. It's now featuring an A17 Pro chip, supporting the company's new Apple Intelligence system. They refreshed it to a 7th generation tablet, maintaining its 8.3-inch design while offering notable performance and improvements and capabilities. The A17 Pro chip is a 30% boost in CPU performances and a 25% increase in GPU performance from the previous version. It also now supports the Apple Pencil Pro and includes pressure sensitivity, haptic feedback, gesture controls. On other improvements, you have the Wi-Fi 6E, a little faster Wi-Fi support with faster USB-C transfer and an upgraded 12-megapixel wide camera with Smart HDR4. Apple Intelligence is included with the writing tools, and you got 4 colors, including the new colors of blue and purple options. Pricing now is starting at $499 with 128 gigs of storage. Yay! That 64 was so ridiculous. 64 gigs. They doubled that. And you go to also available 256 and 512, including also you can get it with the Wi-Fi and cellular model as well. They're also going to be selling a new Smart Folio, which is available in charcoal gray, light violet, denim, and sage, and that's going to be for $60. The availability is going to be starting on October 23rd. You can pre-order this week. And yes, I'm going to go right to Jeff, because you are an iPad Mini user. And what is your thoughts?
I am.
And what are we going to do? Are you going to upgrade?
Well, my iPad Mini 6 is maybe just now a year old. So no, I'm not going to upgrade. But I like that the iPad Mini did get an upgrade. I think that it sends an important message, putting in the A17 Pro chip so that the new model supports Apple Intelligence as well. And Apple Pencil Pro support, that's great. Faster USB-C. They did a lot of little things that add up to a nice update to the device, although it's okay. When we were discussing this on Mac Voices Live on Tuesday, I lamented the fact that it's still Touch ID and not Face ID. And a couple people said, yeah, but that's a way to distinguish non-pro from pro. And I've been thinking about that, and I disagree, because you can buy a standard iPhone with Face ID, and Apple's selling non-pro devices with Face ID at this point.
Mhm.
And it feels like a step out of Apple's nicely homogenized ecosystem to have to do the one thing different to authenticate on this device compared to the others. I think Face ID should be on the iPad mini, and I think it's a disappointment that still it's a Touch ID device.
I would agree with that. Before we go to the rest of the panel here, I wanted to hit on a couple of the features. Notably is the processor. There was a story here about the A17 Pro chip. It's got a binned version of it. It was introduced last year. This is an iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max chip. Was the A17 Pro. So you got to assume that they must have a ton of A17 Pro chips lying around that they decided to put in the iPad Mini. But it does have some, a little bit different. What it says it's a surprise because they've used binned chips and devices before with this chip. So they're saying most likely that this has now 8 gigs of RAM, which would probably make sense.
Mhm.
And they've kept all the comparisons. If you compare the two of the models from the 6th gen and the 7th gen, notable updates like Bluetooth from 5.0 and 5.3, and then on the cellular version, it's eSIM only, which makes sense. Went from 5 gigs to 10 gigs on the speed on the USB-C. And as I mentioned, the Apple Pencil Pro, it also supports the Apple Pencil USB-C. God help you if you buy that one, but that's so bad.
Yeah.
So that's some of the interesting things that they did with this model. So I'd be curious to see, now once it gets out on the wild, what people really think here. I'm going to go to you, Chuck. What is your thoughts on the iPad Mini? You've had one for many years too.
Yes, I have. I have an iPad Mini 6. I was doing just a little comparison while Jeff was talking.
Yeah.
Currently on Amazon, you can pick up an iPad Mini 6 for $379. On Best Buy, you can get it for $399. So, I kind of see that as a good thing because it shows how much they're holding the value. On the other hand, for an extra $100, you get double the RAM and you get newer everything. So why not? I think all the iPad discussions boil down to how do you use it? What do you use it for? And if it's something if this is your primary iPad and you use it aggressively, or you do something like Jeff might, with the Apple Pencil Pro, then it may be a critical upgrade. The other thing that strikes me, though, is I think back to how many people griped for how long about the fact that they didn't upgrade the iPad Mini for so long. Now we have a relatively short term, comparatively, that we're seeing an upgrade, and it's an incremental upgrade for the most part. And yet people are saying, well, I don't know if I'll bother to upgrade. And gee, why did they bother to do it? It's like you can't win. So if they'd have waited for some oh my God upgrade that would have been amazing, then, pardon me, people would have said, well, they should have upgraded sooner.
Yep.
So I don't know. I like it. I think it's a great value for what you get, and it's a great compact form factor.
It is.
And I use mine frequently. To be fair, not as frequently and for the same purposes that I do my main iPad, but I still find it super useful.
Ben, how about you on the iPad Mini?
This is going to be my first new iPad in many, many years. I found the normal large size, nearly 11-inch iPad to just be too big for my uses.
Mhm.
And previous generations of the Mini, not powerful enough. But let's take a look at who this is for. Families, children in school. You have an Apple Intelligence device that is close to half the price of the next cheapest available Apple Intelligence device on the market. You have a device which for your kids can do high-level 3D gaming that has high-level controllers available for it. You have a device that is available with the newest Apple Pencil. It's super powerful. I mean, it's easily the best iPad mini that's ever been made. And it also has the one feature that no other iPad in Apple's lineup has. Honestly, for a lot of people, it's actual tablet sized instead of replace your PC size.
Yeah. So it's something small. If you don't mind the smaller size screen, traveling with it is probably is also very much beneficial because it's a lot
I
less.
travel with mine all the time.
Yep. Let me go wrap it up here with Marty. I know, Marty, you started talking about you have the 6 and you're possibly trading that in and going with the 7.
Okay, this is the point of the show where you pixelate my face like I'm in the witness protection program.
I just
Because
put
I said
my thumb over your face on my screen. That's the same thing,
Yeah.
right?
I'm blocking.
Okay, yeah, that does. And I can feel it too.
I'm caressing
I
you
said
now.
I wasn't going to do it. And then I just went in and looked at what they were going to give me for my 6. And I'm like, yeah, what the hell? Then I kind of had buyer regret. But then I read the articles that you put in and it's sort of like, yeah, there are some features on here that are new. So here's my plan. And you can hold me to it. And I'll tell you that I didn't do it anyways. With Jim Ray on Chuck Show talking and Jeff talking about it, the portability aspects of it, to me, it's like, okay, I want to field test this because my current one sits downstairs on the coffee table and I use it for reading news in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So I'm going to try and push it a little bit more with the new device. Like I said, they gave me about half the cost of the device in my trade-in, so it was okay. What the heck?
Okay. Well,
Can I offer a thought or maybe even a suggestion, Marty?
Yeah, sure.
If you are an Apple Pencil user, or if you have any desire to become one, this is a great device to do that on. Make sure you get a case that can hold your Apple Pencil along with the iPad.
Yeah,
Because
that was the one thing that they weren't very clear about. They're willing to sell us new covers, but they also say the form factor really hasn't changed. So will the 6 covers work on the 7 device? That I'll find out in about a week.
They should, but at the same time, it now has the charger for the Apple Pencil Pro.
Yeah.
So why technically the old ones will work, you won't be able to charge that with the old iPhone or the old Mini 6 cases on.
It
Okay,
depends
so
on the case. Like I just grabbed mine. If you look at the edge, this is a third-party case. This part right here, where the Apple Pencil sits, there's wherever the charging point is, that will be still exposed. So, but Ben, your point stands. Make sure that your case is designed in such a way that it will support a new Apple Pencil. Otherwise, you've got a problem.
Yeah. That being said, if you use the USB-C Apple Pencil or a third party, or have no desire for a stylus at all, that might not matter to you.
Well, I do have an Apple, an Apple Pencil Pro or whatever they call it, and I think you're going to send me back to the Apple Store tonight after the show to see if I can get a case that works.
Yeah, and Marty, listen, you may want to wait if you can just for a little while to let some of the third party options come out.
Yeah.
But I much to my surprise, I found it much easier for me to find reasons to experiment with and even use an Apple Pencil with the Mini than it did with my larger iPad. It still doesn't make any sense to me, but for some reason it just feels like it makes more. It fits in with what I want to do with the Mini more.
Yeah, and I get Ben's point about the other iPads are almost too big to be kind of this movable portable device in your hand kind of thing. And so, and I'll have 7 days left of Inktober to try things out too.
Yeah.
I was gonna mention my favorite case is Zugu, ZUGU, and they are saying that both the 6th gen and 7th gen case it's the same. So you can You can get that, and it does have the battery, the Apple Pencil holder at the top, as well as it's got one with the sleeve on it when you don't want it to be charging, which I really like to having that alternative. So you do have that in there. I got a link to that case in the show notes, but I think
All right.
Zoo is a really good case option. That's the only case I ever buy for my iPads now. It's I really like it, other than having a keyboard, if I had a keyboard for it. So check that out. I think it's going to be a lot of activity once the iPad Mini is out in the wild, and we'll definitely be hearing more about it. But I think that we've really gone through a lot of this and making you think, is it going to fit for you? So glad we gave everybody some options to talking about here. So, and we'll touch on a little bit about iOS 18. As I mentioned earlier, there is a new hint that it's probably going to be available with 18.1. Will be available around October 28th. So it's getting very close because the betas are becoming more frequent. So I think that because of the iPad Mini coming out, it's probably they wanted it ready to go because the iPad Mini is coming out on the 23rd. And by the time it gets in people's hands, we're probably going to have 18.1 ready to go here for that. So be aware of that. We also wanted to hit on a few more things that is going to be able to be available. iOS 18.1 is going to include an option to set the primary email address and change the iCloud email. This is going to be a new option here in 18.1 where you'll be able to set a primary email address in the Settings app, which means it's easier to change your main email address associated with your Apple account. The primary email address is the one that's visible to other people when collaborating and sharing with documents and calendar invites and just more. Apple did not previously make it easy to change your Apple account, now formerly known as Apple ID email address, and the fact that's sometimes visible to other people. To change the Apple account email before, you had to delete the email you were using, choose another, and go through a verification process. You now can go in and actually change the email address and continue to use the prior email address for login purposes right along the new primary. This setting also comes with the option to change an iCloud.com or me.com email address. So if you have that email address you're not fond of, you can swap it out to something else. So Apple was not able to do this. We had quite a debate on this on Mac Voices Live, but the fact that we still are bothered with the fact that we still can't merge old and new accounts. Because I have a old purchasing account that I have that was used with a Gmail account. I can't merge it with my Mac.com, so I want to keep that. And I've got Mac.com, me.com, and iCloud.com. Many of us do. So you cannot do that. So I'm glad to see Apple's done this. You can make some changes to the primary email address and making it easier. They are streamlining the Apple accounts, but I'm disappointed that you still can't do that. So I'm going to start with you, Chuck. What do you think about this new announcement that you now can make changes to the primary email address?
I mean, I don't see a downside to it. In fact, I see a lot of upsides, not the least of which that for people that maybe their relationship statuses have changed from married to divorced or whatever, and they want to disassociate themselves from their former partner, this is great. It also says something about when you're picking your email addresses, maybe you should think a little bit. But that aside, come to think of it, maybe if you're picking your partner, you should think a little more. But anyway, the idea that you can now make it something you want or change it for whatever your reason happens to be, I think is phenomenal. And we all know people that have associated themselves with a particular project or maybe their employment or whatever in their email address. And I don't mean in the afterward part, but the actual name. And then suddenly something happens and they no longer want that, and then they're stuck. Mm-hmm. So this is great. What I find really interesting though is you can only do it on 18.1.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure what that means or what that points to, but stay tuned, I guess.
Yeah. How about you, Jeff, on this? What do you think about this change?
I'm glad it finally happened. I wish it would have happened earlier. Not that I've had a need to change the email addresses for my accounts. But one of the first things that I thought of when this announcement was made was, oh, this is going to be great for people that have dead names.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's a lot of people out there that I mean, okay, look at the trans community.
Mhm.
And they may have set up an email address when they were using a different name, and now they want to use the name that they have chosen, and well, now they can, but before they couldn't. So that's great.
It's a good example. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah,
of
real good example.
a very good example. Ben, what do you think of this?
It's something that, like Jeff said, probably should have been done a long time ago. But this, it goes with a theme that we're seeing with iOS 18, where Apple is listening to users a lot more in what they want from features.
Wrap it up. How about you, Marty?
Personally, not going to affect me much just because I've been using my last name at mac.com. I was in a Apple store this week and a person was checking me out and asked for my email address. And I said, my last name at mac.com. And she went, should have figured that one out. So I don't know what she was implying by that. Maybe that I've been around, but have bought so much from them in the past. I think I'm excited about it. I still have trouble in reading these articles. What's the pecking order of, okay, so if I change my email address to a new email address, does my old email address become dead, but I can still use it for signing in on accounts? Just sort of what is what's the order of logic and what happens with mail that's sent to your old email address?
That's a really
Or
good question.
those kind of things.
Yeah. So, good point. All right.
Real good point.
So one other thing I want to talk about it with iOS 18. I find this interesting, and I have not tried this yet, but I think it's something we probably should start using more, is with Apple Maps. There's a new library and notes features in Apple Maps. They introduced those two helpful new features. It's a centralized library for saving content and the ability to add personal notes to locations. Now, how are you able to do this? The new library is going to bring these significant improvements to Maps app, streamlining the process of saving and organize your favorite locations, building on existing guides feature. New version includes a plus button that'll on locations for quick saving. So now when you have your library here, you got all these pinned places and recently added places, and then you just click the plus to add this in your library. The other thing too is you actually can do is it has the ability to add personal notes to any location in Apple Maps. This feature allows you to jot down reminders, impressions, or any other information you want to associate with a specific place. The way you add a note is you actually search and tap the location in Maps. You tap the More button with the three dots in the location information card. You add a note and then type in your note and tap Done. And then now your note is in there for that particular location and you'll be able to do this. Some welcome additions to this. Ben, what do you think on this?
Whether it's for business or travel or both, I can think of 1,000 ways that this can be useful.
Very much so.
It's, there is no more thinking, okay, what about this place? What did I do last time? Well, you can put notes about it now.
Yep.
Or this is the place Ben says you get the best barbecue. And here's the place where Dave says you get the best tater tots.
Yep. Yep. Always thinking of you with the tater tots, but Jeff.
I appreciate that.
Chuck, what do you think of this?
I'm anxious to see Jeff's map of any given city with all the tater tot
tots.
evaluations.
Yeah, he's going to have all these tater tot notes.
I need an app.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I mean, it's another one of those little enhancements that just adds value.
Yep.
That depending on how you use it, it could be killer. Especially if, like, you're a tourist and visiting different places and would like to jot a couple little notes about maybe not a major landmark, but to the tater tot point, to a little restaurant you stopped at and they had this killer dish that you really loved.
Something you're going to use, Marty?
Yeah, I probably will, just with the travel that I do. On Chuck's show, we spoke about Ticketmaster now putting all these enhancements into the wallet space for people who buy tickets that way. And I mentioned the idea of this would be great if we did this with airports to get around airports. I have an app that I use to do that, but if this information was capable where maybe it's part of or could be part of the Apple Intelligence. Oh, you're here. Let me tell you about this or that or this. Would you like this information? and then having that pinned to notes for you to be able to go back to and get. I just, in and of itself, it's exciting, but my thinking is if they build in Apple Intelligence to be able to inform us where we're at and what's around there, it would be very cool.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. All right, so let's hit at some of the news stories that caught my eye this week. There is a couple Apple Card incentives going out there right now. Latest Apple Card promo is now offering 6% daily cash back with Walgreens and Duane Reade. Apple did share this new Apple Card promotion that offers these 6% daily cash back purchases made at drugstores at a Walgreens. The bonus is available for up to $500 of purchases when using the Apple Card and Apple Pay. Walgreens is going to be offering this in Apple and through November 15th, and then you'll get all that. So that's kind of nice. I have this feeling that this is kind of something that Walgreens is doing because if I'm not mistaken, they just announced that they're going to be closing 1,200 stores over the next couple of years here. So Walgreens is in a bit of a pickle with their profits right now. So they're trying to generate some traffic and giving some incentive. And I've always, whenever I shop Walgreens, being a Chicago-based company, I've always shopped there and I get my prescriptions there. And and so while you're in a pinch, you go there to buy some items that tend to be a little more expensive, but it's convenient. But you've always gotten 3% from them, so now they've doubled this to 6%. What do you think, Jeff?
Great. Apple's done Walgreens promos before, and I'm stuck on who's Duane Reade.
That story is actually in New York City.
Oh,
it's between it's at the crossroads of Duane and Reed Street.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
So okay,
No, seriously, I just Googled it, Jeff, because
right.
I had the same question.
Yeah, it's. I think it was a chain that was
funny.
based. It's based in New York City. You see them a lot in New York.
So it's like another
that they bought
drugstore.
Yeah, they just bought.
Yes.
They bought them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
New York
Great.
City.
Get a rope. Get us more deals with our Apple Card. That's great.
I see more. Yeah. What do you think, Chuck?
Hey, I'm with Jeff. Get the more deals, the better. It's interesting to watch credit card companies, all try to jockey and figure out how we can get people to not just get our card, but use our card as opposed to some of the others. I mean, I know, hey, I alter my credit card habits depending on which quarter it is and which stores have the best deal.
Sure.
I've started to have to track it in my Notes app because, okay, let's see, if it's this month, then I should be using this card at this place. But if you play the game, it's like coupons. It ends up being worth it.
Yep. And how about you, Ben?
I mean, we're at a point where Walgreens is not doing well financially, and Apple's looking to attract a new partner for the Apple Card. This is a win-win for both parties. They lose nothing by trying this, and the consumer wins by 6%.
They do. All right, let's move on and quickly here. Chick-fil-A now allows you to use. You can now place your order using CarPlay. I noticed this the other day when I was setting up the CarPlay on my wife's brand new car, and I saw, hey, look, Chick-fil-A, we can go order, and it hadn't been set, it hadn't been ready just yet. So now on CarPlay, you actually can. They teased it. You can actually be able to place your order and officially go to the drive-through and pick up your order, and it'd be all right on CarPlay. When you're paying attention to your car and not your phone when you're trying to place an order. So I think we're going to start seeing a lot of these trends with that you're going to be able to do this. There's one big limitation to this app, though. It can't pre-use the full menu. Instead, you have to only repeat recent orders and choose from saved favorites. To view the full menu, you have to go to the app on the iPhone. So obviously, you're not going to be doing it while driving. So it'll be interesting to see where that expands. And a lot of these restaurants that are potentially, I know Dunkin' does it, and a number of others, the other food apps are out there. I think this is going to be a trend. What do you guys think?
Well, it's certainly better for people to be looking at CarPlay than their phones while driving and trying to get their food.
Yep.
In my case, Chick-fil-A is one of the few places that offers diabetic-friendly grilled nuggets instead of just the breaded ones. Mm-hmm. I hope this is a trend.
I do too. Anybody else want to add anything on this?
Considering how long the Chick-fil-A line is all the time at the one that's near me, I imagine that people are going to love this because now they can just pull into the drive-through line and then tap the button for what they always want to get. And by the time they get to the window, their order's ready for them. So I won't be trying it out because I don't have CarPlay and I don't need it Chick-fil-A. But hooray for the people that can wait in those long lines and just tap a button.
And maybe I'm projecting a little bit, but if Apple Intelligence pans out the way that we're all hoping, maybe you won't even have to look at it. Maybe you'll just be able to tell your CarPlay system that you want to order, a chicken sandwich or a box of nuggets, and give it verbal commands.
Or how about you're driving down the road, your normal schedule in the evening, you're coming home from work if you don't work from home. And as you get near the places that you typically go, Apple Intelligence is bringing up on CarPlay, hey, you have your shopping list that you've been putting together in Notes. The grocery store, it's right over here. Do you want me to route you over there? Or, hey, you usually order this at whatever fast food restaurant, and we're almost there. You want me to place an order for you?
Yep, for sure.
The Knowledge Navigator, brought to you by Chick-fil-A.
See?
So Apple is now celebrating 10 years of Apple Pay. They had an open letter and interview about this on Apple's website. They are celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Apple Pay, which was launched on October 20th, 2014, which was part of iOS 8.1. Apple has since become available in over 75 countries and regions, and the vast majority of retailers in the U.S. now accept contactless payments with one notable exception, Walmart. So
yeah.
two other long-time holdouts have finally opened contactless payments in the U.S., including the Home Depot and Texas-based grocery chain HEB. So now, starting today, eligible customers in the U.S. and U.K. have access to financing through Buy It Now through Klarna, which when you check out Apple Pay now on the web and in apps on iOS 18, allows you to use this and make pay later type service, which Apple discontinued when they had their own. But starting next year, PayPal is now going to be involved, where you actually can use a PayPal balance or using the PayPal debit card in the Wallet app on the iPhone. So the Apple's vice president of Apple Pay and Apple Wallet was Jennifer Bailey. She goes through and talks through this. I'm not going to read through this whole letter, but so they're excited about Apple Pay. We're excited about Apple Pay. I use Apple Pay all the time. I think everybody on this panel does too. What do you think, Marty?
I was kind of late to the game compared to this panel with Apple Pay.
Okay.
So hip hooray, 10 years. I would say I've probably been in it about 3 at this point.
Okay.
But yeah, it's great. And like to see the expansion of it. Don't quite understand the Walmart thing unless they're trying to do their own device or their own.
Oh,
They've always been adamant that they would do their own thing. And we could probably do a whole show on their multiple attempts and failures at creating their own system.
CVS was doing it for a while too until they finally caved.
Well, there was that whole consortium that they were going to bring down Apple Pay, and they were going to make it more widely available to everyone else, presumably for a piece of the action. And
that never happened.
Yeah, to put it mildly, that never happened.
Yeah. So happy anniversary, Apple Pay, and we continue to use it. So this is a new story that actually came out today as we record this. In the United States, the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, has announced a final click-to-cancel rule that aims to simplify the process of ending subscriptions and memberships for U.S. consumers. The new rule will require businesses to make cancellation processes as straightforward as signing up procedures, and companies will be prohibited from forcing customers to use chatbots or with agents and to cancel subscriptions. Doing that all the time. That originally are initiated online or through an app. For memberships started in person, businesses must offer cancellation options by phone or online. There's a statement from the commission's press release said, too often businesses make people jump through endless hoops just to cancel a subscription. The FTC's rule will end these tricks and traps, saving Americans time and money. Nobody should be stuck paying for a service they don't want. So this is going to be a big move. The commission voted 3-2 to approve this final rule, with 2 Republican commissioners opposing it. Some initially proposed measures were dropped, including requirements for businesses to send annual reminders about the recurring charges. The new regulation will be set to take effect 180 days after publication. So, good thing to see. It's more to modernize the 1973 negative option rule and address unfair practices following legal actions against major companies like Amazon and Adobe over their ridiculous subscription practices. I think all of us here kind of probably welcome this new law.
Yeah.
Yes.
My disappointment is that there were 2 votes against doing this. What is wrong with these people?
Yeah, whatever.
This is necessary and long overdue.
In fact,
there's got to be some
there's
got to be some pretzel logic in that, Jeff. I'm sure if you ask those 2 what the rationale was, they'd give you some logic.
I'm sure they would, and it's probably logic that they received from their donors.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jeff, cabbage
All
logic.
of the money,
the green kind.
And I'll give.
I do want.
Go ahead.
I do want to point out one thing, and that is Apple has been way ahead of the game on this. Because you cancel something with Apple, it's canceled.
Yep.
It's click and cancel and you're done. And it's another example of Apple doing things the way they should be done.
That's a good point, because I was going to go spin off of what I just did. I've been I think many of us are subscribers to Disney Plus, and also you also get the bundle with Disney Plus Hulu, but they also have the triple bundle, which includes Max, HBO Max. So I'm paying for all these services. I mean, I had Disney Plus and Hulu through Apple, but you can't bundle Max in it because it's not part of an Apple subscription. So I had to go through, and then I decided, what, I was on a monthly subscription with Disney, so that was easy to just cancel it. And then my Max subscription, which I paid for a year, the price has gone up astronomical because I had like a teaser rate for a year. I canceled that, and then I just went ahead and bundled all 3, and now I can just monitor what it is every month, and it just gets billed for one monthly bill for all 3 services. So that's another good example of where it's making things a lot easier when it comes to these canceling of subscriptions. So,
yeah, I get interested in a lot of different apps that are out there, and I really prefer to buy them through the Apple Store if I can, only because that ecosystem, I can go to it and find out what I'm paying for, where it is, and I can cancel it right away if I want to. I get a little leery. It's sort of like, am I going to remember I even have this account with this particular service? And how am I going to, I'll get an email from them saying, well, your service is going to up in a month. And I'm like, what is this? And then I'll trace it back and cancel it. So
that's the idea.
Yeah. And so I like the idea that it's easier to do this independently, but I really like to have them consolidated under one hood, so I can go under there and see what's coming up, what haven't I used that I can just drop off now and not worry about it while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I agree. It just, I wanted Max, and I did the math, and it just made no sense for me not to do it that way, just based on how much I'm saving by bundling all 3 of them together.
Yeah. I have the same issue with Disney and ESPN and Hulu all bundled, but Max I get with my AT&T account.
Right.
So it's an add-on with that.
Which I could add, but I prefer it to be separate because it's actually a little less. So
yeah.
Anyway, so let's a couple of news stories about Apple TV Plus before we wrap up. First one is Silo. If anybody likes the show Silo, they shared their first trailer of season 2. And the second season of the globally acclaimed drama original series Silo, which is now set to premiere on November 15th, 2024. we know what this show is about. It's based on Hugh Hawley's Wool series of Diaplan novels. Silo tells the story of the last 10,000 people on Earth who live in a mile-deep underground silo designed to protect them from a toxic world outside. First season, which premiered in May of 2023, became one of the streaming service's standout hits. So they, so now that season 2 already, you're starting to see, these new seasons are already popping on a lot of these shows. You guys watch Silo? It sounds like Ben, you said yes on that.
Oh yeah, that show had me hooked from the very beginning. It's a lot like Foundation, and what that it shows exactly the kind of storytelling Apple is willing to go to. It's, I mean, acting's phenomenal, set design is phenomenal. Yeah, it does differ from the source material, but in all the best ways. It's really well done.
Anybody else here to watch Silo?
I'm looking
Yes.
for a new series. And this might be it.
Yeah, you can binge watch and be ready.
It's got Rebecca Ferguson in it. Now, what's the story about?
You just read the article. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want to repeat.
That was a
myself.
dad joke.
Oh,
Anyways,
you got
It's
me.
very funny.
You got me.
I have a very dysfunctional relationship with that series.
Okay.
I watched every episode, and I thought the cinematography and the sets and the costuming and the actors, they were all phenomenal. I really loved the quality, and at the same time, I had trouble just getting into the story. And yet, I've watched every episode of season 1, and it ended, and as I know I'm coming up on the very end of the last episode of season 1, I was thinking, okay, good. Well, that's out of my life. And then they do the cliffhanger ending, and I'm like, I'm not that interested in this show, and yet I really want to see season 2 now. How are they doing this to me?
Yeah. See what it is? It's basically a darker version of Fallout.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, and I tried reading the books, and holy crap, how did those get published? I thought the books were, I couldn't even, I didn't even finish the first book.
Yep.
But, and the TV series is so much better than the books.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Marty, don't bother reading the books. But
Okay.
my expectation is you'll probably actually really enjoy the series, because there is a lot of good stuff in it, but it didn't hook me the way it's hooking everyone else.
I will put in a thumbs up for it, Marty. I'll tell you that the premise did not appeal to me, and I sort of watched it out of a sense of obligation for Apple TV Plus and their sci-fi offerings, and I really enjoyed it. Jeff,
Chuck,
this is the one though that you've made a mistake because you didn't watch the first 3 episodes together.
Yeah,
Isn't-
yeah. You need to watch the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
At the same
What-
time.
Watch the first 3 in pretty much one setting, and you will thoroughly enjoy it, because up to that point, it's like you're not quite sure what's going on.
Yeah, it took a lot of convincing from, I think it was you, Chuck, and Patrice, and a couple other people to get me to even watch episode 3.
Yeah. I mean, to be perfectly honest, it probably would have been better if they had kind of had the first 3 episodes in the middle where you're kind of going back to the beginning.
Yeah, I can see that too. Although the way they did this, the way they did it, I think it works much better than the way they introduce you to a lot of the concepts in the book. And like in the book, there's you're right, Ben. They changed everything in all the right ways, because in the book, the big reveal that you get at the end, that should be at the end.
Yeah.
And yeah, just saying.
Chuck, I've got a question. Have you seen Fallout on Netflix?
No. Why do I?
Okay.
What is Fallout? That sounds familiar.
It's a
It's a video game.
It's a video game, but it's post-apocalypse kind of
Okay.
storyline.
And people live in these silos in the ground.
Yes.
So it's similar. All right, let's.
Is this? Oh yeah, I guess this is out.
Yep.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know this one. Thank you.
I
have you-
loved Fallout.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's
Well, I
one
mean,
more.
Much
Fallout
lighter.
is more. Yeah, Fallout is more whimsical.
A whimsical apocalyptic post-nuclear.
Yep.
Okay.
It's whimsically grim.
Yeah.
Okay, that I can identify with. Okay.
All right, let's. We got two more, and we got to wrap up here. Slow Horses, we love that show. Season 4 is streaming now. They've already got the next 2 seasons booked up. That there's going to be renewals for the next 2 seasons. So season 5 is going to probably start filming soon, and then season 6. So we got Slow Horses for a couple years here now. So I'm excited that's a pretty
And they
amazing
just
show.
greenlight season 20 already.
Yeah, exactly. So check that out. And then my other favorite show, Shrinking, just came out this week with the new episodes. Everybody doesn't know what Shrinking is. That's the one with Harrison Ford. Is a great show with 2 therapists who start to break the rules with telling their clients what do they exactly think. This is another Bill Lawrence production. Ted Lasso fame, so as well as Bad Monkey he did. So Bill Lawrence is just knocking it out of the park with these. So there's going to already be a season 3. So they announced that even before season 2 completed here. So another great show. Check out. I tried to watch the first episode of Shrinking season 2 yesterday. Got a little late, so they put the first 2 episodes already out as we record this week. So go check that out. And we got some great shows on Apple TV Plus, as we keep talking about every week here. Go check out Apple TV Plus. You need to be a subscriber if you're not. All right, that's what a great show. We have a lot of great topics, a lot of things to talk about, and Apple just keeps us busy every week and talking about great stuff. So let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at intouchwithios, at techhangout.social. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We'd appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, so you're notified when we're live streaming, which is Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. It's great to see Webb made it, Webb Bixby, and Brian, and Cletus, and many others. Thanks for coming on. You can come out and join us while we're live streaming here. You can watch the live stream live, as well as watch it later, as well as you can listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into the magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Cast, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. Chuck Joyner, always a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks for being here. Where can people find you?
Find me over at macvoices.com. That's where we are. We have a lot of really interesting things going right now. There's some great interviews out. There's some great interviews in the can, just waiting to be edited and released. A lot of which have circled around some of the topics we talked about Tuesday on Mac Voices Live, which happens every Tuesday at 8 p.m., youtube.com/MacVoicesTV, and some of the topics we talked about tonight. That some of those interviews with different people flesh things out. So be sure to check it out. And as always, on all the socials, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner.
Great.
Thanks for having me, Dave. This is always a blast.
It sure is. Thank you for being here. Marty Jencius, thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure having you, and having both of us as Vision Pro users as always makes our segment fun every week. Where can people find you?
You can find me at Jencius, Jencius, at mastodon.social. And Monday nights with Eric Bolden doing Vision Profiles, 9 p.m. Mondays on YouTube at Vision Profiles is the channel. You can watch it live or catch it on the podcast later, or catch it on the video later if you choose.
Excellent. Ben Roethig, thank you for being here. Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at Ben Roethig on your social media of choice. Roethig.tech for my writings and ravings. You can also find me on assorted podcasts like Mac Voices Live. I am actually off the next 2 Tuesdays.
Woohoo!
and the British Tech Network. Sadly, my doctor likes to come up with appointments at 10 o'clock on Friday mornings. So I will not be here this weekend, but I'm hopefully next Friday.
Thanks, Ben. Last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet. Always a pleasure having you on the show. Where can people find you?
Well, thanks for always letting me come on and being so incredibly tolerant of me. So, social media, Jay Gamet, pretty much everywhere. I'm active right now on Mastodon and Instagram. So you're seeing a lot of Inktober posts from me. And then shows. Chuck keeps letting me join in on Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays. Here we are, Dave letting me join in on In Touch with iOS. Then on the British Tech Network, Big Show on Thursdays, Mac Show on Fridays. Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch.
Great. Thanks again. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Appreciate you supporting the show. And we'll be back next week. But until next time, thanks again, and we'll talk again soon.